I've been thinking, David.
What you been thinking?
We've been thinking, actually,
It's true. You don't even tell me.
together. We're generally less interested in being, like, productive people and more interested in being effective executors. I think the difference in the framing there is it's not about, like, quantity or speed of getting things done. It's about doing it from a place of intentionality and love, so you're, like, centered on the things that matter most to you and able to be the person who can show up for those things consistently.
Right.
And that's the kind of person I want to be.
Totally. And in that mentality, I think sometimes being more productive could actually mean doing less things and being more focused. Crazy.
Here are 3 things that we think are important to being an effective executor in your life. Thing number 1. Your brain should hold nothing but the present moment. A lot of people have to-do lists, but they're often, like, scattered across multiple mediums. Like, you have a sticky note on your desk and, like, that note on your phone or on your computer. Not to mention all the things that are just in your brain, like, that you're just trying to remember to do.
Exactly, and the solution to this very common problem is to have one single place where you record everything on your mind to do. Things, calls you need to make, things you want to read, whatever it is. And as soon as a new thing pops into your brain, you write it down and you record it. For example, I use something called OmniFocus, which allows me to do that from my phone or my computer. I can set a date, I can set project types, I can set a context, but even a simple thing will work great.
Yeah, having everything in this one centralized location is crucial because your brain is not for storing all the things you're supposed to do and for remembering all those things. It's not even that good at that. Your brain is for being present in the moment, for connecting with people, for being creative. You want to free up space so your brain can do the good stuff.
Point number 2 is to focus on the things that are most important.
Focus on what's most important. That sounds pretty obvious. Like, what am I going to do? Focus on what's not important?
Right. Well, the idea here is to shift from just being aware of, like, oh, the relationships matter, my job matters a lot, to actually focusing and bringing into detail what really, really matters in the big picture, and then letting fall out of focus all the things that don't.
Here are 3 manifestations of that level of focus.
The first one is just literally making space for the things that really, really matter by saying no to things that don't matter.
Yeah, and that in turn makes your yeses more powerful and reliable.
So I think one way to make more space for relationships that really, really matter is by thinking about which relationships are really intimate and saying yes to those and really being present, having a lot of energy. And then relationships that are just acquaintances, just trying to in general say no to them. That way you have more space to be with people that are really, really intimate.
Sounds pretty harsh.
Yeah, but it's also harshly loving, and it would be unloving to the people that invest a lot of time and energy into you to not be available for them.
Another way to live out this level of focus is to sort of realize that all the work and all the things you need to do in your day-to-day life are not created equal. There are things that are more important, there are things that are less important. And this book that we read called One Thing asserts that in any particular realm, there's one thing that's the most important, and that's the thing you should identify and do. The way I try to implement that in my life is I have a spreadsheet where I have, like, the 6 most important realms. So, like, my health, my communities, where I have written my long-term goals, and every day I look at it and I make a goal for the day that connects it back to that larger goal and value. And that level of, like, looking at that every day really allows me to focus on those things that are important and make sure I'm doing the one thing in that realm that will make everything else easier or unnecessary.
But we often live in a world where we're distracted constantly, systematically actually. And so a huge part of focusing on what matters is making your systems actually help you focus on what really matters. And so there's a lot of ways, primarily with technology, to do this. One example is on your phone. I actually have my phone set to black and white.
Boring. Don't even want to look at it.
So that I'm less likely to click on things. When you open to my home screen, there's actually no apps on the screen except Spotify, which I listen to in the morning, and my meditation app. On top of that, I've taken all my apps and put them into one tiny bin that's on a screen that you don't actually see when you come in. And that allows me basically not to want to click on them because they're kind of hidden away.
Well, another huge area that we spend a ton of time and waste a lot of time is in email. And by default, your inbox looks like this. I've got this important email about collaborating lovingly with a lot of close friends. It's super important, but it's right next to my Verizon wireless payment statement, which is totally mixing the incredibly important with the completely unimportant. A really quick way to focus on the important is to go to your inbox settings and basically have Google's great algorithms automatically sort your mail into different categories
so that when you open your inbox, you see only the most important in front of you, and all other things fall into other tabs, which you can quickly glance through, address what's most important, respond, and move on with your day.
Thing number 3, make your systems work for you.
Yeah, at the end of the day, what makes you feel most comfortable and effective and focused on what really matters is what matters. For example, I've seen Michelle and I have both used pretty complex spreadsheets to track every day what is the most important things and how can we get towards our goals. But I've also seen people just wake up in the morning, pick out a slab of paper, and write down in each area of their life what's the most important thing they can do that day. Similarly, I and Michelle use OmniFocus for these complicated app tracking of to-do lists, but my mom just uses one iPhone note to write down everything she needs to do, and that works great for her.
You should be using tools that you trust and that you like using. Like, you should feel like a badass, the commander of the spaceship of your life systems.
Yes. At the end of the day, productivity is not about how much you get done, but being able to be present and loving the things that you do that really matter.
So we're off to go focus on what matters most. Friends and boba. I've been thinking, David. Also, I want boba later.